It transforms discord into harmony. So the lyricism of Beethoven's Eighth is described. With marked contrast and delightful surprises, it transforms discord into harmony. And so does the teaching and ministry of Jesus, so well summed up in Mark 1:41, when it said, as Jesus entered Capernaum, that filled with compassion, he reached out his hand and he touched them. My wife Judy and I have friends, Ken and Barbara Black, whom we see on occasion, and a couple of weeks ago they were telling stories about children and grandchildren, as we grandparents often do. And they told us a story about at that time, their 7-year-old daughter Lori, who had a meltdown of a day, and Ken had said, you're going to go to your room and stay and think about it. Well, the meltdown continued, and Lori said to her father, I'm going to get my suitcase, I'm leaving. And so Ken, grabbing the teaching moment, went into her closet and brought down her small suitcase and put it in the middle of the floor. Then he went downstairs to be with Barbara. And they waited for half an hour and an hour and 15 minutes. And down comes the steps, comes Lori, with no suitcase. And she said, I've changed my mind. I'm going to give you another chance. Is that not what the grace of God is about? Another chance. Could it not be that our lives are formed as they are, we are who we are and what we are, because of the grace reflected from our grandmother, our teachers and coaches, our friends, even our strangers, those whom God before. And then Jesus, filled with compassion, reached out his hand and he touched him, giving another chance to the leper. Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law. He reached out to the doubter, to the sinner, always giving another chance. About a year ago, I attended the Hall of Fame banquet at St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island, and I ran into a ball player who played for me 20 years ago. Now, Stephen Kim was the first one in the field and the last one to leave for practice. His sophomore year, after I hit about 1,000 ground balls to him, I decided he was our starting third baseman. He recounted his first game. I had forgotten. He said the very first batter hit a ground ball to him, and he picked it up and threw it 20 feet over the first baseman's head into the first base stands. A couple of batters later, another ground ball came his way, and he threw it short, and it bounced over the first baseman's head into the stands. 2 chances, 2 errors. Not a very good beginning to a baseball career. And then he said, Coach, you probably have forgotten, but you called timeout. I had forgotten. And he said, you walked across the diamond from the first base dugout, and I could only think, here he comes. He's going to take me out of the game and send me down to the JVs. My career is over. He said, but I remember what you said that day. You simply put your hand on my shoulder and said, Stephen, you are my third baseman. Want the ball, want the ball. Stephen went on to handle 3 more ground balls that day, he tells me, and then had a wonderful career as a fine third baseman with a smooth glove and a strong throw. And then Jesus, filled with compassion, reached out his hand and touched him. Julian Kopecky has recently written a book, When I Fell from the Sky, way before the Chilean mine disaster recovery, before the landing on the Hudson. It was a great miracle that occurred in South America. Julianne was flying to see her dad on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1971, when the plane heading close to Lima, Peru, ran into a thunderstorm and literally disintegrated at 10,000 feet. She couldn't write about it for all these years, but now has. She said, I remember still being strapped to my seat and spiraling towards the jungle below. Perhaps it was the updrafts from the thunderstorm that helped a little bit, or the cushion of the jungle. but Juliana survived. She broke her collarbone, had 2 deep gashes, lost a sneaker and her glasses. For 11 days, she made her way through the jungle and was rescued at that time. Later, she said she asked the question, why? Why is it that I, in the matrix of time, have been spared? And then she said the question went, what do I do with the grace that I have received? She went and got her doctorate in biology and committed her life, 35 years, to supporting and upholding the rainforest. She had found a new calling. She had been given a chance. And Jesus said, I will give you another chance. We too are called to be reflectors of grace as we move through our journey of faith. Albert Schweitzer is one of my favorite writers and thinkers of the 20th century. By midlife, after World War I, he had 3 earned doctorates. He had studied under Widor, the great organist in Paris. He had doctorates in philosophy, theology, and music. He wrote In Quest of the Historical Jesus, and also an 800-page volume on the interpretation of Bach. With all that notoriety, he decided in midlife to go to medical school. He said, enough talking, I must reach out in service to our fellow human beings. And so after medical school, with another doctorate earned, he began Lamborghini in Equatorial Africa. And there he established a hospital, which is still famous today. He operated on many of the natives and helped them out, and trained other doctors and nurses. But as he got to the end of his earthly pilgrimage, when he was close to 90, in his autobiography he writes, I can no longer operate, but I can hold the hands of the patients and those who are being operated on. And then Jesus, filled with compassion, reached out his hand and touched him. Frederick Beaton was one of my favorite theologians. He writes about grace as being sometimes coming to us through tears, sometimes through laughter, sometimes through a beautiful sunset. It comes in so many ways. But he makes the point that we neither earn it and often do not deserve it. The question, he said, is, what do we do about it? The answer is simple, he said, you pass it on. Take our hands, O Lord, and let them be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Amen.
Amen.